persuasion and brainwashing techniques, an introduction there on what he believes is going on, and is, I think you'll see, is completely valid. So, what persuasion and brainwashing techniques are being used on us today? The birth of conversion, brainwashing in the Christian revivalism of 1735. The Pavlovian explanation of the three brain phases. Born-again preachers, how they conduct a revival, and the expected psychological results. The voice role techniques used by preachers, lawyers, and hypnotists. New trance-inducing churches. The sick decognition process. Now the thought-stopping techniques. They sell it by zealot. True believers and persuasion techniques. Yes, set. Embedded commands, shock and confusion. And the interspersal technique, subliminals. Now vibrato and ELF waves, inducing trance with a vibrational sound. Even professional observers will be possessed at charismatic gatherings. The only hope technique to attend and not be converted. Non-detectable neurophone programming through the skin. The medium for a mass takeover. Although I've been interviewed on this subject on many local and regional radio and TV talk shows, large-scale mass communication appears to be blocked, since it would result in suspicion or investigation of the very media presenting it, or the sponsors that support it. Some government agencies do not want this information generally known, nor do the born-again Christian movements, cults, and many human potential trainings. Everything I will relate only exposes the surface of the problem. I don't know how the misuse of these techniques can be stopped. I don't think it is possible to legislate against them, which often cannot be detected. And if those who legislate are using these techniques, there is little hope of affecting laws to govern the use. That's your government and our government. I do know that the first step to initiate change is to generate interest. In this case, it will probably only result from an underground effort. I'm talking about this subject. I am talking about my own business. I know it. I know how effective it can be. I produce hypnosis and subliminal tapes, and in some of my own seminars. I use conversion techniques to assist participants to become independent and self-reliant, self-sufficient. But any time I use these techniques, I point out that I am using them. And those attending have a choice to participate or not. They also know what the desired result of the participation will be. So to begin, I want to state the most basic of all facts about brainwashing. In the entire history of man, no one has ever been brainwashed and has realized or believed that he has been brainwashed. Those who have been brainwashed will usually passionately defend their manipulators, claiming they have simply been shown the light and have been transformed in miraculous ways. So that's about as clear as you can get. The birth of conversion is a nice word for brainwashing. Conversion is a nice word for brainwashing. And any study of brainwashing has to begin with a study of Christian revivalism in the 18th century America. America gets the blame for almost everything. Apparently, Jonathan Edwards accidentally discovered the techniques during a religious crusade in 1735 in Northampton, Massachusetts. By introducing guilt and acute apprehension, and by increasing the tension, the sinners attending his revival meetings would break down and completely submit. Technically, what Edwards was doing was creating conditions that wipe the brain slate clean so that the mind accepts new programming. The pre-input was negative. He would tell them, you're a sinner, you're destined for hell, etc. As a result, one person committed suicide and another attempted suicide. And the suicidal converts related that they too were affected so deeply that, although they had found eternal salvation, they were obsessed with a diabolical temptation to end their own lives. So once a preacher, cult leader, manipulator, or authority figure creates the brain phase to wipe the brain clean, or slate clean, his subjects are wide open. New input in the form of suggestion can be substituted for their previous ideas. Because Edwards didn't turn his message positive until the end of the revival, many accepted the negative suggestions and acted or desired to act upon them. Charles J. Finney was another Christian revivalist who used the same techniques for 4 years later in a mass religious conversion in New York. These techniques are still being used today by Christian revivalists, cults, human potential trainings, and some business rallies and the United States Armed Forces, to name just a few. Let me point out here that I don't think that most revivalist preachers realize or know they are using brainwashing techniques. Edwards simply stumbled upon a technique that really worked. Others copied it and continued to copy it over 200 years. The more sophisticated our knowledge and technology became, the more effective the conversion. I feel strongly that this is one of the major reasons for the increasing rise in Christian fundamentalism, especially the televised version, or variety, while most of the orthodox religions are declining. So he discusses here 3 brain phases. The Christians may have been the first to successfully formulate brainwashing, but we have to look for Pavlov, the Russian scientist, for a technical explanation. Now, this goes back thousands of years. It's not recent and not just American or even Russian. The whole term assassin has derived from brainwashing of individuals 1,400 years ago in Iran and east of the Middle East, where they were given a lot of hashish, told what they were, where they were, once they had killed themselves, after they had killed or along with the target, that they would have a future beneficial existence. This is ancient stuff. Now, that's where the term assassin comes from the giving of hash to mostly younger people who are more easily misled, and given, so you have young children or young women blowing themselves and everybody around them up. So this is nothing new. In the early 1900s, the work with animals opened the door to further investigations with humans. After the revolution in Russia, Lenin was quick to see the potential of applying Pavlov's research to his own ends. 3 distinct and progressive states of transmarginal inhibition were identified by Pavlov. The first is the equivalent phase, in which the brain gives the same response to both strong and weak stimuli. The second is the paradoxical phase, in which the brain responds more actively to weak stimuli than to strong. The third is ultra-paradoxical phase, in which the conditioned responses and the behavior patterns turn from positive to negative, or from negative to positive. Now, with the progression through each phase, the degree of conversion becomes more effective and complete. The way to achieve conversion are many and varied, but the usual first step in religious or political brainwashing is to work on the emotions of the individual or group until they reach an abnormal level of anger, fear, excitement, or nervous tension. Others often use psychological weapons to modify the normal brain functions are fasting, radical or high sugar diets, physical discomforts, regulating of breathing, mantra chanting in meditation, and the disclosure of awesome mysteries. Special lighting and sound effects, programmed response to the incense, or intoxicating drugs. The same results can be obtained in contemporary psychiatric medicine by electric